I want to talk about befriending coworkers. This is something a lot of people have a pretty hardline stance on. You shouldn't do this. This is something that can raise ethical concerns. People you work with won't be real friends, they're not looking out for you. And I want to push back against this idea that we have to have a divide between a coworker and a friend, or a coworker that you're friendly with and a real friend. I think that you should seek to make real relationships at work, and I'm going to talk about why. Now, obviously, a major reason people cite for why you shouldn't do this is ethical concerns that can arise, issues that can come up with, giving a performance review for someone who's a friend that could potentially harm their livelihood and make their life worse. Could be very hard. Other issues about, you find out someone's going to get fired and you can't tell them, but they're your friend and you want to look out for them. What do you do? Now, these situations are very rare, in my opinion. Yes, they definitely exist, and when they happen to you, which probably they won't, but they definitely could, I think you need to approach them in line with the person you want to be. How do you value the word that you've given, the contracts that you've signed? What do you think is the right course of decision based on your values and what you feel about the promises you've made in your life? Now, until that moment comes, you're spending 8 hours of your day around these people. That is half of your waking hours. To me, as someone who views community and friendship and shared love among other people to be paramount, to be something I value about as highly as possible, the idea that I would intentionally not befriend people who I'm around so much, half my waking hours, is absurd. I don't think it's a healthy way to approach life. Yes, it might protect you in the strictly vocational perspective, having a clear, distinct boundary. However, not only does being friends with your coworkers not inherently compromise your work, because it doesn't, it has the potential to in certain situations that are very addressable. But being friends with your coworkers strictly will make your day to day happier, warmer, something you look forward to more. And again, the self denial of this, in some cases, it is, you know, an ethical thing, but in many cases, it's a line people decide to draw to protect themselves, in my opinion. I am afraid of being backstabbed. I don't want to give too much of myself to my job. And, by being closer with the people here, I'm going to end up spending more of my life here and caring more about my job. And I want to detach myself. I think that we are spending way too much of our lives at work to view the world this way. And you can argue with me, or you can argue, I would argue with you in your favor in this case, that maybe the way work is set up in the modern world isn't the healthiest thing for our species, that we are way too detached from the products of our labor and we don't feel a true sense of belonging or reward from our day-to-day work. However, we live in this system, and to be a participant in it and deny yourself and deny the people around you warmth, I don't think it's the proper way to do things. Now, obviously, the reasons for not befriending your coworkers still stand, they're still valid, and it gets even more complicated once you get into friendships between a superior and someone who's subordinate to them. But as a general rule, I don't think it's wise to prevent yourself from being friends with the people around you, especially when they're going to be around you for so long. They're people who have the same job as you, so there's an inherent common ground baked in. And at the end of the day, they're just people. They're not, by being a coworker, they don't become some kind of robot who you only interact with for those 8 hours of the day and then the rest of your life you're completely distinct. They are people who are trying their best to make their way in a hard, complicated world. So I really think if you have a boundary like that, you should try to loosen it up. Be willing to take a risk and add some warmth to your day-to-day life and be friends with the people around you. Make your life better and shed some of that fear that is reasonably sourced, but in my opinion, only serves to make the world a worse place. Thanks for watching. I hope you agree with me. If you don't, that's cool. Let me know. Hope to see you next time.